Well, hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Julia Royston. I own BK Royston Publishing, Royal Media and Publishing, and the Book Business Boss Consulting, where we're always helping you get your message to the masses, turn your words into wealth, and be a book business boss. So I'm excited. Today, I have three incredible authors on and writers and people who are experienced authors and new authors releasing and experienced writers at least. And then we have books on the way and books that we're thinking about. And, I was rolling around my head with this Thrive in 2025. And I know fiction takes a lot more work to write than journals, especially journals, and sometimes some nonfiction. Now, memoirs take a little bit more because there may be your personal life story and they may be a little painful. But fiction, the complex involvement of fiction, takes a lot more to write. So I wanted to jump on tonight and talk about with some writers about the fiction writing process and actually what they go through. And I enjoy the creative process, period. So it doesn't matter whether I'm writing music, which I haven't done for a while, or writing any genre of books. I love the creative process. And so, therefore, my process is just basically finding the time in between life and family and doing laundry and helping other people write, publish, and promote their books that I find time to really write my own story. So, I'm really looking forward to this. Get your notebook and pad or get your phone out so you can follow these authors and support what they do, share what they do, because I'm just going to say at the top, fiction for new fiction writers and new fiction authors, some people are hesitant to follow and read new authors' work or authors that are not quote unquote celebrity types or whatever. So, therefore, this is an opportunity that I want you to meet authors that I enjoyed reading their works and that I know I'm the publisher, but I'm also an advocate for things that I write. Now, Michael Young's works, I try to read in the daytime. Hello. His mystery thrillers, I need to read in the daytime. Christian is my, as they say, my younger generations, keeping it spicy, keeping it fun. Laura, she took me back in time, but it was a page turner and made me read, oh gosh, what was it, 200, 300, 200 pages or so in like a couple hours. Now I'm a very fast reader. So I was moving reading that, and it kept me the whole time from start to finish. So much so that when I started, I didn't stop until I finished. And so for me, that's major. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is really good. And yeah, let's make it happen. So therefore, fiction that really moves me and keeps my attention to the very end, that keeps my attention throughout the highs and the lows. And Michael Young sometimes will make you shocked. I want to say, you really? I mean, he gets my goat sometimes, and I understand it because I do the same exact things. When it first starts out, I'm like, oh, okay, it's the night. What? And then I'm just, oh. And Brian's like, who are you talking to? Never mind, never mind. I'm reading one of Michael's books. Oh, okay. And then we keep moving. So therefore, learning that art of twists and turns and ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and the highs and lows, and then twist you at the end and surprise sometimes in the middle and surprise at the end. Baby, you got me. I'm a She's sold. It's like she's sold. So that's what we're gonna kind of talk about. Get that method down. Especially if you're interested in writing fiction or you know someone who is. Make sure that you let them know that we're talking about writing fiction and what that means and what that is like, especially for somebody starting out. So the first thing that I want to do tonight first is I want each author to introduce themselves. We're going to do it panel style. So you're going to be able to see all four of us at the same time, and we're all together. So you don't have to be looking away. So I'm like, who is that? What? No, boo. We all here at the same time. And tell us where they're from, where you can find them on social media, because I know that's big. And if they have a website, fine. And then I want to know a little bit about their book. Leave it as a teaser. Don't give away all the end parts and everything, but get us excited to actually read your book, go find it, and of course, where we can find it. So we're going to start with the veteran of the group, Mr. Michael Young. You start us out.
Hello, I am Michael Young. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. You can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on Instagram, Mr. Big Mike 1272, which I do need to check more often. Or if you live in Louisville, Kentucky, you can buy my books at Pretty Woman Boutique. If not, you can find them on Amazon.
Okay, and tell us about your latest one.
My latest book. Which one is my latest book? I guess
Desire,
my head. Oh, Dark
the
Side of
adult.
Oh the Dark Side of Desire. That is my first step into erotica. In that book, there's some new neighbors that move into a neighborhood. They seem like your everyday neighbors, but the woman who lives next door starts to notice a few things about her neighbors. They seem to be exhibitionists, which sparks something in her curiosity, and the wild things they do in their backyard with each other and guests that happen to come over. But then she's starting to notice that she never sees the guests leave. But the next day she sees her neighbors carrying out giant black bags.
Dun dun dun. Stop right there. Can't give no more away. So out of desire. Woo, woo, woo. Now you know why
Listen.
I was reading it in the daytime, trying to figure out, oh Lord, what did he write? That's the reason why it's on Royal Media and Publishing. Hello, brought to you by Royal Media and Publishing. Hello. No, find Mr. Michael Young on social media, and I know y'all going. As a matter of fact, sidebar. I was at an event and somebody was asking me about writing adult fiction. Hello, and I said, you need to find Mr. Michael Young, and that'll help you with your writing as well, and these other books. But that style of keeping it spicy and keeping it moving. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's good at that. He's good at that. Christian, go ahead.
Hi, y'all. I am Christian Butler. My pen name is CB Renee. I am from Louisville, Kentucky, but I now live in Tampa, Florida. And my book is called Sydney. I am a new writer as far as getting myself out there, but I am an experienced writer, I guess. But my book, Sydney, is basically like a coming of age story of a young girl from Brooklyn who moves to California with her boyfriend to start a new life. She's basically looking for this, just what she thinks to be the goal in life, but ends up in this just whirlwind of things that just lead her to herself. Like who she is not really who she wants to be, who she knows she is. So you get to really come on a journey with her as she grows into the woman and the person that she is. She gets into some mess, so it's something that'll keep you on your toes, but it's definitely one of those coming of age stories that you can, some people can relate to it. Some people, you're going to know somebody like the character Sydney in your life if you're not that person. So it's one of those kind of comfort books. And I'm currently working on a book too for it. So trying to get that really out there for people to grab a hold of Sydney right now. So thank you.
Exactly. Okay, where can we find you on social media?
On social media, you can find me everywhere at CB, the brand ambassador. And Sydney is available on Amazon. And if you're in Louisville, you can find it at Jai and Yame Books and More, which is at 636 South 18th Street. It's Louisville's only black owned bookstore. So make sure y'all get down there to support myself and the other authors that are in there.
Exactly, exactly. Julia Worson has some books in there too as well. So stop by there, 636 South 18th Street. It is a very unique bookstore, and one that I'm really proud of for another author from BK Royston Publishing, Miss JC Prolific Jones Britt. So I'm really, really excited for her and all that she is doing. All right, Miss Laura, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Laura Litke. I am in Louisville, Kentucky. I do have Instagram and Facebook at Laura Litke. Makes it pretty simple when you have a last name like Litke. I have email. You can find me there, Laura Litke KY at Gmail, and Laura Litke KY at TikTok, which I don't use TikTok. So, but I do have an account if you want to see my dog or my chickens. That's all that's on there. I do have my first book coming out, thanks to Julia, and it is it's a young adult fiction, but it's good for adults too. It's a story about the Summer family and a teenage daughter and the father dealing with grief, and then the teenage girl and her friends get a history project in school and decide to help with the history. They're going to summon the ghost at the plantation where they live and get into a little bit of trouble with the ghost, but it's an adventure for them all. There's mystery, history, romance, and loss. I like to think of it as an easy read. You can read it at night, and
yeah, I wasn't scared at night. No, right.
Ghost in it, but it's not scary ghost, really. Could be. Depends on what you do to him.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's going to work out. I'm also working on the second book in this. It's a series. The first book starts in 1972, so it does take you back a little ways. And the next book is 5 years later in 77. The next one, I'm kind of getting the ideas in for a 1982 book. So every 5 years, that way you get to see how people progress over time without, it being in the same book. It's every 5 years. Some of the same characters, always new ones. That's what I plan to do. And hopefully that will work out and we'll get that second one done this year too.
Sounds like a plan. Now, Litke is spelled Litkea. So if you're looking for Key, it may sound like Key key, but it's Litkea. Okay. Right. So be on the lookout. Definitely. Okay. So let's talk about the inspiration for these books. What is it something in the news? Is it a plot? Is it a character? I'm usually, when I'm writing, I'm usually thinking about people. I'm usually thinking about the audience that I'm really writing for. I'm really writing about. And sometimes it comes from people I meet or people I see. And I tell people, don't tell me no story. Because it could end up a paraphrase of it or an adaptation of it in one of my books. One of my assistant teachers at Dixie Elementary told me a story about her friend, and it ended up being a paraphrase of it and a version of it in Roberts Junction, which is like my relaunch of one of my books. And then Hank ended up being book one from an actual district maintenance personnel, and every time he came in the building, the women went wild. And so I was like, oh, okay, hold on, yeah, he's handsome, and and the whole 9 yards. So that's how Hank was born. So sometimes my inspirations are based on the audience, what the audience is asking for. Some spicy fiction, some excitement, and then sometimes it's based on the person. So I spin them, I put them in different situations. They're not going to necessarily be from Kentucky, even though Roberts Junction is set in Southern Indiana, and so is Hank. So it's in my area, but I created towns. Roberts Junction does not exist in Indiana. So it's those kinds of things. So I'm inspired by a lot of different things. a book I'm currently working on. Uh, it's short stories, but it's different reasons, and that has been inspired. I don't know about you TikTokers, but baby, all them podcasts, interviews, and all that relationship advice and the relationship crazy questions, and ooh, I'm like, oh Jesus, me and my husband, we turned to each other like the When Harry Met Sally movie. Tell me I'll never have to be out there again. And he said, I'll tell you, you never have to be out there again because I ain't going out there. So it's those kinds of things because I realized that people are getting married and in relationships for totally different reasons. And some of it has nothing to do with, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. Oh my God. It's not even he's cute with a nice car. At least that was back in the 60s and 70s. But now I don't even know what the reason is. You know he's no good. You know she's no good. And she's no good as much as he's no good these days. Today, the woman can be just as bad as the man. It's not like, oh, you can't blame it all on the man. It's the woman who's crazy today. So it's those kinds of things that spurred like different reasons. They had different reasons than what I thought when I was getting married or what I had in my mind marriage to be. So you all tell me, I don't care who wants to start first, jump on in. So what was really the inspiration behind your books or even the books that you're writing? Did you just want to tell a story or had you have personal connections with this or in the news, just like, oh my gosh, this is just something I just want to write down, or sometimes it won't let you go. I start hearing dialogue and people talking, and I know, oh wait a minute, it's time for me to sit down. That's my next question about hearing voices. But sometimes that starts it too as well. So whoever wants to go first, go.
Well, I know for my book, and the town is called Cypress Grove, and 1972, I was a kid, and we had a farm. Well, I boarded a horse on a farm, so it was a place I would hang out all summer long. My mom would literally drop me off in the morning and not come back until dark. That is where I hung out, and I think times were simpler in 1972. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. Kids went out and played. That's what they did. And
Yeah.
we didn't worry about what we were doing. And I remember riding my bike down Dixie Highway when I was 6 years old, and no big deal. I went up to the drugstore to buy candy or something and went back home. And you can't do that much anymore.
No, you better not.
Yeah, it's nice to go back there so people who read it today can see what it was like back then. And that was my inspiration for setting it there. And it's in rural Kentucky. I did live in California for a while, and I miss California, but Kentucky is home.
Yeah.
I wanted to write stories based in Kentucky.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I was gonna jump in and say mine started out as a Facebook story challenge. So it was completely made up, and then once I went to write the book, I switched the characters up a little bit, and switched the storyline up a lot. But it's still kind of like if they were following along at that time, they'll be able to see connections, similarities. But yep, it started off as that, and then once I really got into writing, then the characters started speaking. I wouldn't necessarily say I heard voices at first. Now that I've written more, I feel like I'm starting to hear them a lot more. But I think that's something, as I develop as a writer, that I'll hear more. But yes, I definitely started like just envisioning different characters or envisioning how the scene looks exactly in my head and making those characters move but at the end of the day, that was really not something that was happening around me. It was completely just I'm making up these characters and making up this situation. But I did draw inspiration from growing up when I really got into reading on my own. I was reading a lot of my mom's urban fiction books. And I don't even know if she knew I was reading that stuff, but I read a lot of Omar Tyree and Sister Soldier and all these other books. Like, so it definitely puts you in that time of, that type of urban fiction that was coming out. Just because that's what I enjoyed at that time. And so a lot of people who I is my audience and I'm leaning more towards is those people who, they used to love reading and now they're just now like getting back into the love of reading. You can connect with something that, when you had that pure love of reading, this is the type of content that was out. So
Yeah.
that was my
Excellent.
inspiration.
And I think part of that hearing voices comes with the more you write and then
Yeah.
putting them into scenes. We'll talk about that into a minute. So, Mr. Young.
All my books start with common situations. Then I expand to say, how can I tell a different story about this situation? Like the Dark Side of Desire, the situation is strange neighbors move in next to you. The Protect and Serve series, there's a lunatic out and the police have to catch him. Uh, Wildest Dreams, common people, ex movie star. She meets up with a construction worker who's doing work at her house. Just something that this people can relate to on a ground basis. Then how can I expand it? How can I keep it interesting? How can I change it from something that you've already heard? And definitely, I do hear voices. Once I get the idea for it, the character starts speaking. Then I have to separate the characters and give them names. And okay, how can I make this person interact with this one? How can I make this one the bad character, so-called bad character? And how can I expand this world and keep everything in it interesting to keep the reader going?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. And and besides the hearing voices, because that's a major theme. I don't know, Laura, if you've heard voices yet. Are you hearing them? Or you will hear them. If you haven't heard them in this book, you're gonna hear them
Oh, I
in
hear
book
'em.
3,
Yeah.
5. You do? Okay, so you already hear them. So I
Yeah.
know that people who are non-writers, especially non-fiction writers, not fiction writers, not nonfiction, but not fiction writers, wouldn't really understand that because mostly nonfiction is just told either in the first person or even third person, but you don't normally have a lot of dialogue, etc. And you're not usually in nonfiction developing characters and their emotions. And do you want them to be bad all the way through? Do you want them to be bad and then turn good? Do you want to have a happy ending? Do you want to leave it open ended? I mean, it's like a movie, but with words on paper. So when you're writing fiction, it exactly like Christian said, it's like scenes of a movie. You got to make sure that what happens in this chapter and what's going on in this scene. Now, in a movie, you're able to see it. You don't need to say he opened the door and went through the door, and then there was a staircase that led down, and you don't need to say that in the movie. You got the music playing, and he's turning the hand on the knob and opening the door, and then dun dun dun, it's dark, and then all that you see it, and the music is heightening that. But when you're reading it, you have to tell it. You've got to relay it step by step. And one of the things that new authors struggle with is transitions. Like, and I tell this all the time when I'm dealing with fiction or we've been talking about writing, but that transition part is just can lose a reader faster than anything. Like, for example, and we came down for breakfast. Did you come down the steps or did you come down the hallway? Okay. Did you it was the kitchen on the right or was the kitchen at the end of the hall? And you're like, it's gotta be that detail. Yeah. Did you fly? How'd you get there? And so, they just like, oh man, oh no, that's a lot more involved. I know people who got fiction books and then put them up for years. For Michael Young to written 7 or 8, I mean, that's a flow. That's a move. That's if you don't release book 1 and you working on book 2, you in a flow. You're in a and you write all the time, you're in a flow. But this here, people get, it's gotta be that shit. Yeah, because otherwise, and then he got in the car. Well, how did he get out of the car? How did he get in the car? Was the car out the front door in the driveway? Or did you go down 3 steps to the garage, open the door and unlock it, let the garage up, and then turn the key? Oh Lord, you gotta. Well, yeah. How did you do it? Are you in a plane? Are you in a boat? What are you doing? And so it's those kinds of things. That's the reason why it takes fiction so much longer to write than it does nonfiction. Because 10 steps to a better life. Do this next, do this next. There's no major transitions. Because sometimes when I'm writing nonfiction, it's not in no order. It's not in no, you got to do that first, and you got to do that. Yeah, if I'm telling you how to, that's self-help, that's something else. It is a specific order. But in fiction, you can get lost. And I'm telling you, as the publisher, if you're lost, if I'm lost reading it, and y'all know, I already told you, I read almost 200 and some pages of Laura's in about 2 or 3 hours. It don't take me long. If I get lost, I would have stopped at probably page 35 and said, Laura, I'm confused because I don't know what happened from here to here. I would have seen it. I took speed reading in high school. So that helps me be able to read. Who knew? That funny class I thought I would never do nothing with. Paid off, honey. Let me tell you. So, those kinds of things, that tip right there is major, major. And then the second one is if you hear voices, baby, get it down. I don't care if you just turn your phone on and start speaking in your phone, hit the record, even if it's the video, audio, whatever you got, get it down. Because if they stop talking, which is my next question, is about writer's block. I think that's when writer's block happens. Because I've had characters say, well, when you're ready, I'll talk. But until you're ready, I'm like, excuse me? I'm not losing my mind, am I? He's like, no, it's just a creative process. And so when I don't get it down, it's like, no, they don't want to talk. Okay. So before we went live, Christian said writer's block is a real place. So explain what you mean, because I don't think I've ever really, really had it.
I don't know how to really explain it other than it's just like, because usually, like, if I want to get creative, I'll either turn on jazz music or it has to be completely silent. And
Okay.
so it's either or. So there'll be times like if I'm experiencing writer's block that I'll sit there and, set my intentions. What do I want from this? And nothing will come. Like you said, those voices that I once was hearing are not speaking. Sometimes I can just sit down, have the music playing, or I be silent, and the words are just coming to me. And then there are other times where it's just not coming. And I don't even know if there's anything specific that I do to bring myself back, but it's just like one day out the blue, I go to write and it flows again. So
Yeah.
I still have to pinpoint what is it that brings me back to that creative process. But as of right now, it doesn't happen too often. But when it does, it seems like it lasts for
Okay, so
longer than I want it to.
that explanation does make me think I've kind of had it. Because sometimes if I force something to work, it
Yeah.
won't work. It won't work. So I just go on and sometimes I'll go work on somebody else's book or something else of somebody's.
Yeah.
Totally not in the same genre. Don't get me wrong. It's not even if I go work on another. No, sometimes I can work on a children's book or poetry, and then it'll come back. And then I'll be honest with you. I was like, oh Lord, I want to get this done. I was praying, and I said, Lord, I want to get this book 5 of Terrence the Terrific series. I want to get that out. People been waiting. He said, no, you're not going to get it out till toward the end of the year. And I was like, well, no, see, I need it. He said, no. It's not going to come until the end of the year. And he said, so go ahead and work on that other stuff you're working on, the kids' books, them other stuff. But the chapter books are not going to come until this part.
Yeah.
You know how hard that was? And I could not, especially when God said it, the creator. He's not just creative. He's the creator. And I was like, ain't no sense in me trying to make it happen. Because he done already told me it wasn't going to happen until the 4th quarter. So just go on and start working on some other stuff. Told me just like that. Just like I'm saying it to y'all. That's the way he talks. Just go on and work on other stuff. It ain't going to come to the 4th quarter. And just like he said it, I rolled out London, which is young adult fiction. I rolled out book 5. Boom, it came just like this. But if I'd have tried to force it, it would have probably been writer's block and frustration. So maybe writer's block is just, it's not time yet. Is that what it is?
I think it just can be a mixture because sometimes it's a difference between writer's block and procrastination. If I'm procrastinating and I can get creative and I'm just choosing not to, that's not writer's block. Writer's block is like when it usually comes naturally, the words are just naturally flowing. I'm not having to really think about it too much. When that's not happening, that's writer's block.
Yeah.
It's like, because with you being an experienced writer, you can sit down and like the words, they're just coming.
Oh,
The
yeah.
characters are just speaking. So when you get to a point where you sit down and the things that you usually do when you write and it's just not coming, that is a block.
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't think I could ever do a traditional situation, because they have deadlines. They have hard deadlines. We need this many pages by this date. Oh no, I would just be froze like I never wrote a book before. That's not a good place for me. But
I don't know if you would be. I think that would be one of those things. Would you really experience writer's block with doing something like that? Because all you're doing is telling a story that's either already known or somebody's telling you what to say.
Already approved. But now, you putting me under the gun. You just, I'd be nervous about that because that's not my normal flow. Now, when I ghostwrite for somebody, that can be kind of hard too, because I'm trying to write in somebody else's words and whatever. That comes differently. Sometimes it just comes all at one time. But something like when people are saying, okay, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, and if you don't have it by this date, we take the money back. Oh, no. I don't think I flowed that well under that kind of pressure. I don't think I Michael LaLaurie, y'all want to chime in?
Well, listen to Christian. Maybe I didn't have writer's block. Once I start writing a book, I usually get it out with no problem. It's just ideas for another book. I've been blessed with imagination, so I can basically write a book about anything. But that doesn't make it. It doesn't mean it's going to be an interesting book. Mm-hmm. That's my main thing. I don't want to just write anything. I want to write something that the reader's going to like and love and page turn. And some of the ideas I have, it might be okay, but no, I'll just wait till that I get. Yes, that. Okay, I'm running with that. And right now, it's not really happening. I got ideas, but I'm not. That lightning bolt is not striking a certain idea yet, like the past books.
Yeah. Well, then I think it's more timing than anything else, because it's not like you're procrastinating. Yeah. I don't think that. Procrastination is like 10 or 15, 20 years. That to me is like, ooh, okay. It may not be fully procrastination. It might just be you haven't had time for it. I mean, I know life is lifing, but after 20 years, I don't know whether I want to tell the story. But, some people still do. I've been holding this on for 20 years. I'm like, okay, boo, I don't know. What is it? I'm like, girl, we needed that 10 years ago. Hello? Yeah. But, that's just me. Laura,
but you have to be intentional about writing, though, too.
Huh?
You got to be intentional in being an author, too. It's like when you decide to be an author, either you're going to put the work out or you're not.
Oh, come on, preach, girl. That's the truth right there. You either gonna that's the reason why I tell people I'm ready when you're ready. Not, you gotta have it because I run my publishing company under different models. So unless you tell me I need such and such done, or I'm working on such and such and I need it, then if you want to pay me to pull you, okay, I can do that. But otherwise, it's hard for me to make you do it, because by the time I'm making you, I could have wrote 2 books. Hello, I could have wrote probably 5 children's books, because they're not hard to write. It just all depends on what's needed in them. And of course, as a publisher, I'm also looking at what's needed in the market, which is totally different than just writing something I'm interested in. Some things I'm writing because there's a gap. There's a gap in the market, or there's something, or there's some audience that has not seen representation. So, like Robert's Junction, the people are older. Like they're in their 50s. So having, the young, cutesy 20 something, 30 something, body's perfect, everything's going for them is easy to do. But sometimes the older lady who's had 2 babies and, maybe not in the best of shape and hair doing funny things and menopause and all that, they don't get a lot of press. They don't get a lot of representation sometimes. And so therefore, I'm 60 something and, and body's doing funny things and all that. So I understand that. I identify with that and know that there's other people, especially my age, they read. Them folks read.
Mhm.
Still read. So that does make a difference. So Laura, if you're already working on book 2 and 3 and have the plan for 3, you don't have
Yeah.
writer's block. I don't need that.
Let's don't have the time to get it out. It's getting there.
Yeah, I know, but writer's time is, I got plenty of ideas, but writer's time. And I think if, like Michael, if you have ideas and you're still trying to formulate them, I don't think that's writer's block either. Right, Christian? I don't think that's writer's block.
Yeah, no.
No, not when you're having ideas. You just need to formulate them and make sure the plot, because we all need to do that. I think that's the objective of a good writer or progressing writer, because it's a journey. It's not what I wrote in 2005 and what I write and how I write now in 2025 is totally different.
Yeah.
And what I produce in the world and what's needed in the world right now is totally different than what was seen in the world and what was needed in the world in 2005. Breonna Taylor hadn't happened. George Floyd hadn't happened. All of that whole summer of 2020 hadn't happened.
Yeah.
And so the demands of the kids is different. The demands of what's going on in the world right now in 2025 is different. So what that's going to look like moving forward, there's always going to be place for fiction. There's always going to be place for entertainment, romance, fantasy. Calgon, take me away. I mean, there's always going to be room for that. But then there's also going to be room and need for some serious topics too. Talking about grief, talking about Vietnam. I mean, not Vietnam, but was it Vietnam? The war, Laura? Okay, Vietnam. And talking about, the soldiers' grief and all that. And then, what do you do when the family's in debt? What do you do when, they're not only a history project in school, but it's about a real place with real people, having real situations with real problems, and being able to make that connection to you and your situation and your real problem and your real, how you handle it. And the grief you have, it might not be from war in actually a foreign country, but it might be a war going on in your house. It might be a war going on in your head. It might be a war going on in your money. So being able to also make that connection with the audience too is really important. Okay. So my next question, I'm almost to the end, I think. What would you tell, because this one is really important, what would you tell a first-time author to do that if you had to do it again, that you would do differently?
For me, I would say let people read what you write, because I didn't for many years. I wrote and wrote, had stacks of books before we had computers. Nobody had ever read anything. And then one day somebody read it and said, wow, this is pretty good. I thought,
Yeah.
It's more my therapy to write than anything, but they thought it was good.
That is a mental health and therapeutic method.
It is.
Writing. So, I think we're our own hardest critic, I think. I think we're harder on ourselves, even if you do get a bad review and somebody didn't enjoy your book, which it's always possible to happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it's always possible to happen. So even if it does, it still will never compare to how critical you are or you were of your own self.
That's
So
true.
whatever they say, okay, you can't please everybody. There's 9 billion people on the planet. I say it all the time. But besides that, you are usually your own worst critic. And then the other thing too is that when you're writing in an isolated place, like this is my writing cave, messy as it is, this is my spot. This is where I'm home and feel good in my messy office. And so it's you telling the story inside your head to you, whether you're writing it pen and paper or whether you're writing on the computer. But to other people, when they see it, it could be a totally fresh perspective. And so I encourage you, if you're listening to this and you have been writing in secret, hello, in your own writing cave, that you find somebody you trust. And I know somebody reading my work, it can't be my mama. I can't have my mama because what, your mama, oh, yeah, they just, yay, whatever you write is wonderful. But then you can't have the hater read it either. You got to find somebody who'll speak the truth, but speak the truth in love, and really want to offer constructive criticism. Or can you explain this a little bit? Because I was confused right here. Because it has a lot to do, we're creatives, so we're sensitive about our work. Hello. So therefore, being able to tell it and ask it in a way that will not crush you or now I'm that girl. So if you want me to read something, I'll be happy to, because I know the creative process and I understand how sensitive people can be. But so my thing is, I agree with Laura. Be sure and have somebody read it and have somebody else read it who is, have somebody who is a writer read it and have somebody else who just likes to read it. And I agree with that. I think that was an issue for me, having beta readers beforehand and before you release, to make sure it's clear and make sure people can understand it, because you got to have somebody with fresh eyes is what I call it. So who don't have any association with it, so that it can be clear. Okay. Anybody else? What would you tell somebody for the first time, Christian? They thinking about they done read Sydney and they think, oh, I think I could do that too. What would you tell them?
Just do it. Like you said, it could be therapeutic. And for me, that's when I was like, oh, when you become an author, it's either put the work out or you don't. I feel like it really is a calling. Like, our words are powerful. So whether you are using your imagination to create these stories, your imagination can inflict somebody else's imagination. So I just say, just put it out there. That's something that I'm still struggling with. It's just sitting on things that could be helping somebody, because for me, I'm very much faith based too. Even though, my book is a little spicy, it's still it got a little bit of God. It got some God in there too, because I know where my roots are. But it's just, if you have accepted this calling to put these words out here, then take it serious. Put it out there. Why are you sitting on it? Nobody is benefiting from it. Well, you just sitting on it. And like you say, you're your own worst critic. So you might think it's something that's just nothing and it could touch people, but how will you ever know if you're not putting it out there?
Exactly. Michael?
It may sound mean, but I would say don't tell everybody what you're doing. Because there will be some people who doesn't have the ability and don't want to see you succeed in anything. And you'll tell them, oh, I'm writing this book. Oh, why are you writing a book? What makes you think you can write a book? And kill your momentum before it even starts.
Right. That's right.
Just go ahead and start writing. Once you're halfway done or almost done, then you can tell people, I'm writing a book. And so if they come with the hate, you look at what you've already done. You don't matter. Look what I've done.
I love it. You're exactly right. It's right. And and it is your own expression. And you're right. It is something, a call that you have. And I know people, Miles Monroe said the richest place and where the ideas and the discoveries are in the grave. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for any of us. I want us to This is a part of your intellectual property. It is a part of your legacy. It's a part of the creative um, gift that God has put down inside of you. So it needs to be expressed. It needs to be safe, in a safe place. It needs to be protected. It needs all of that. But in spite of all of that, it still needs for somebody to be blessed by it, um, and to be healed by it, to be inspired, even if they laugh or get a tissue and cry about it. It still needs to be out there. And more importantly, if it causes someone to think or do some research or to rethink how they live and how they treat other people, that's even better. It's even better because there are people who need what we have. And I tell authors that all the time. There's people waiting on what you have. And you may not think so. And who knows me? They don't know me yet. No, they don't know you yet, but they will if I have anything to do about it. If we have anything to do about it, um, they will. They will know you in the future. So I highly recommend that if you have an interest in writing fiction, um, that you start, that you begin. Just get that old. I have them all over my desk, all over my office. This regular 80 count notebook. Just start there. He's like, I don't type that well. Okay, well, if you can't write it down by hand, some people have get your phone out, open up your camera, and hit record on the video and just speak it. So there's no excuse if you really want to do it. And I'm fitting to, one day I'm gonna. Well, when you gonna? I'm gonna tell you, I've had too many authors now. I'm running toward about 10 that I know of that have died, and I don't have a book from them. And it's not because they didn't contact me, and not because, but they died before they got me the manuscript. They died, and they didn't leave that to the next generation. They didn't leave it to their kids. They didn't leave it to their relatives. The words are still somewhere. And so some of them did. And it is wonderful that it's out there, but some of them didn't. And it went to the cemetery, just like Miles Monroe said. So he's given you that gift. He's giving you that idea. He's put that in your head. Let's get it to the world. Let's get it out there in a format that the world can access it, that the world can find it, that your family members can be blessed by it, that they can be entertained by it, that can be motivated by it. You never know. There's a next generation of writer who needs what you have written. I'm now finding myself going to more author talks and schools and things of that nature because young people need to be inspired to write. So I'm getting invited more and more. I'm offering more and more to attend schools, sometimes virtually. Sometimes they jump on Zoom and they pipe me into a room of kids and I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? And then we go from there because I'm all about technology. I'm not going to bash no technology, AI or nothing else, but everyone still needs to understand that their words matter and their words count. And it does make sense, and it should be done, and it should be out there. And we need readers and writers that will be the next generation of leaders. So, okay, so Christian said she's got jazz music and silence. I'm the same way. If I'm writing romance fiction, it's smooth jazz or some soft romantic music. And then other things I like to write in silence, which is unbelievable. I work with music on, but when I'm writing, I really like to let the character voices talk. Either one of you, Michael or Laura, y'all have what y'all got? Music playing or nothing?
I have a Spotify playlist for Lost Souls of Cypress Hill. I think it's called Lost Souls 1972, actually, because
okay.
Music, I made that and got one for 1977 too.
Oh, look at you.
Now, I think writer's block comes in when I start to write and I write 2 sentences and then I spend 2 hours building the playlist. That happens.
You got to do that first. No, I'm joking. Well, I mean, whatever moves you. Now, after you spend 2 hours with the playlist, are you able to get back in 2 sentences down?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Well, whatever works for you, Michael.
I guess I might be the oddity. I could have the TV playing and my wife next to me talking. I can just put the story down and know what's happening on TV and hold a conversation with her. So it's nothing specific that I need.
That's my girl. Saritha's my girl.
This
Ooh, Miss Saritha Bacon Young, come on through. You was doing it. Oh yeah. Okay, so talk about man multitasker. What the world? That is, I don't know if I can keep all that together. Well, when you turn in your stories, I get it. I get it all. I'm like, no, really? You know, that's the way I react to him. So, all right. So we know Laura's got book 2 on the way. We know Christian's working on book 2. We know Michael's got 2 that he's holding up. He don't want me to see yet. Is that what you mean?
I want to go over the next one again to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Okay.
A lot of times it'll be in my head and it doesn't come out in my fingers. And I thought I put it in, so I have to go over this a couple of times. But Winter's Cold Kiss will be coming to you in March.
All right. Well, that is really a key thing too, is to put it away for a while and then bring it back out so that you see it with fresh eyes. Because you're right. When you and then another one is read it out loud. Because when you read it out loud, you're like, that's not what I was saying. And sometimes your ears, what you thought in your head is what you thought you typed or what you thought you wrote. But until you put it away and then bring it out, and I really do read it a lot out loud. When I read it out loud, even if I get it back from the editor, I read it out loud. And even if it's grammatically correct, it may not be correct as far as what the character should say. And so sometimes, even though it's grammatically correct, it may not be what that character should be saying at that time. So when you read it out loud, that's really, 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 really key. Fresh eyes and reading it out loud. So we got a playlist, we got jazz, we got smooth jazz, and then we got the multitasker. The multitasker. My Lord. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you thought about writing fiction, if you want to write fiction, good evening. Welcome, Pastor Cynthia Shelby. I know she is an author of devotionals and inspirationals, but if you ever want to write Christian fiction, you can take these same tools and adapt them in your life there. And she's in the Lexington area. And there's my friend Fatima Lewis on the East Coast. You doing all right, love? Heal. I want that cast off hopefully soon, but don't take that cast off too soon before you heal. All right. Follow the doctor's order. Hello. But she's very, very, very creative. She's writing poetry, inspirational writings. We still got a memoir we got to finish. We got a green-eyed monster we need to finish. And I'm going to do that even if I have to help ghostwrite that part myself. But very creative in a multiplicity of things that she does. Cards, painting, drawing. Ooh, I don't know. She's a crafter, a little bit of everything. So Fatima, good to see you on live tonight. And blessings to you and all that you do. Your book will be coming out soon. Let's do it. I'm always excited when other authors jump on and appreciate them tuning in. And even those of you who are going to be listening on the replay, I know there'll be tons of you later on. We thank you. And special thank you to my guests, Ms. Christian Butler and Ms. Laura Litke, and the Urban Fiction King himself, Mr. Michael Young. All from Royal Media and Publishing. So I encourage you, even though this is on being streamed on the Julia A. Royston page, go to Royal Media and Publishing. Follow that page on Facebook. Royal Media and Publishing is also on Instagram, and Royal Media and Publishing is also .com. So follow those pages and be sure to reach out. I really always try to connect the authors to their books. And Royal Media and Publishing will be 10 years old this year. Can you believe it? Oh my God. 2025, 10 years. Woo! 2015, 2025. So we're super excited about that. BK Royston Publishing will be 17 years old. And so we moving right along. We are making it do what it do and continue to move forward and bringing good literature, bringing quality literature to the world. So I'm super excited about all that you all are doing, all that God's doing through me, and all that He's going to do in the future. And keep the writing coming. Keep the creative juices flowing. And if I can help you, there is my bio link page. That's all my websites, all my online stores, everything. JuliaAKRoyston.com. You can find me if you're interested in any of the publishing part. Always go to talkwithroyston.com. That is talkwithroyston.com, and let's have a conversation. Just if you have an idea in your head, let's have a conversation so that we can move it forward. I don't want you to say, oh, nobody helped, nobody offered. No, that's what I'm here for. So let's have a conversation. Schedule it. It's on the Eastern time zone. Talkwithroyston.com. I trust to hear from you very, very soon. You'll all be blessed. Have a wonderful night. And my prayer is today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you all so much that you live your best life. Be blessed. Bye-bye.